How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I'm going to go and do a contract called Missing Workers, where I've got to go and rescue a Bruce from like the top right corner of the map, and then kind of take it near enough to the bottom left, not quite, but not far off. Yeah, it's a contract in the middle set of contracts, and I'm starting from the garage on the Crossroads map, and it says to travel up. It says to the north tunnel or whatever, which I assume is that. But there's just like a little checkpoint here in this little area. I don't know if it's like going to be a yard or anything useful later on. And then just that, like next to there, there's a Bruce Azov 7 summit, whatever it is. And then got to take it all the way down to here to that little service area. For whatever reason, it doesn't even bring like a yellow diamond up to sort of tell you where it is. You can click on the thing and it'll kind of travel over there, but it doesn't really hint it too well. But yeah, it's kind of a random place between the trailer store and kind of that rail yard that's in the bottom left. And strictly speaking, I could follow the rails going along, but I just thought it'd be a little bit boring, just kind of like once I'm on the train tracks, it'll just kind of be flooring it all the way along there, really. So I kind of made up a little route cutting across that, seemed pretty good at the time. And then for today's vehicle, basically, I'll show you a little bit of footage like coming up soon, but I tried to take the Tatra Force thing, whatever that's called these days. But yeah, long story short, I had to readjust, and I went back. I was going through all the different vehicles. The main thing is, it's towing the Bruce isn't too bad, but at some point you need to repair the vehicle, and the biggest kind of issue with that is it's got 10 tyres and it needs all 10 fixing as well. It's not like half of them are already done. And yeah, there's nothing really in the game that has 10 tyres all on its own. The closest you could get really is this repair van body thing. I think the maintenance trailer, was it? Also has 6, but yeah, long story short, you can't have 10. And I was trying to look at different vehicles that I could use to tow it with, because Bruce is a pretty hefty vehicle. He's got 10 wheels and yeah, just like some pretty good length. That's what she said, of course. So it's one of them. I didn't like want a really tiny vehicle, and a lot of the smaller vehicles in this game, or at least just the normal like 6-wheeled vehicles, you can get this van repair body, but I wanted something preferably that was kind of at least big enough that it was kind of the dominant force when I'm towing it along. I didn't want to be kind of like skidding back and forth on the winch, kind of like fighting the fact that the trying to drag a bigger truck behind me. So yeah, I originally, like I said, went with a Tatra Force. Part of the reason was it's got sort of that like recovery thing you can put on the back, where it's got like a beaver tail thing that you can put down and theoretically scoop a vehicle up. But long story short, it's a little bit crap, to be honest. And it wasn't the only reason I stopped. Like when I get there, I'll just put a bit of footage in the video and kind of show you what happened. You can see my tyre marks there from where I was just attempted this mission before, to squeeze my way through them bloody tree stumps. But yeah, as I was going through the vehicles, I was very close to using the Zix 605R again, which, strictly speaking, I'd probably recommend. It wouldn't be a bad one for this. To be fair, this the Dolphin was doing pretty decent tonight as well. Yeah, I wanted a bigger vehicle, so there was that kind of thing. The Zix could actually have this van repair body as well. So when I get here, there's like just a blue checkpoint sat there. You just quickly drive through that, and then yeah, this is the Bruce you got to fix up. And damage-wise, or like the total repairs you need, I believe it's about 730. So it's quite a lot as well. You're going to need what you can either bring. It's going to be 3 loafs, or yeah, some kind of repairs. Again with the Zix. It's got the roof rack on it, which is pretty handy, but generally speaking, this van repair body on the back, it's got 800 points, so that kind of solves that really. I don't really know why now. I was kind of slowly going through the list. I should have just hit all really and got it all fixed. But yeah, I've got 6 tyres with this van repair body, so that only leaves 4 left. And I mean, let's not fuck around. I'm going to find a reason to bring the goddamn horse of a vehicle, because I usually do, but I did actually need to today, because like I said, there was no other combination. The only other things I could have done is I could have gone to the trailer store, but the problem is the trailer store, this is why I just generally prefer the trailer store to be in the same yard as the garage. I'd have to drive near enough to the bottom left of the map to go and get a trailer, then drive back up to the top right to come here, and then I've got to tow this thing back to the bottom left, and it just feels a bit like sort of going back and forth, doubling back on yourself. So I didn't really want to do that, and then yeah, it left me with like a couple of options. There's some of the bigger vehicles in the game, like I don't know, the P16, the Kolob, the Azov Antarctic. They can't have the van repair body, so this was like the footage I got before I went out with the Dolphin. And a couple of issues with this thing is one, you can't pack the loaf on the top at the back. I gave it a couple of goes. I wasn't sitting there too long trying it, but it didn't seem to be having it because there's kind of like a weird invisible hitbox on the back that doesn't really sit very well. But I could wedge the loaf kind of in the middle like that, which suits me fine. That's no problem. To its credit, I just left that bit in because I kind of hit a bump there and tipped over quite a lot, but this thing didn't actually tip over. It still managed to stay on its wheels. But yeah, that whole rear kind of recovery unit thing, other than you got like the beaver tail thing, but it's got no repair points to it, which I think is, I don't know, it's a bit crap. It's a bit of a sacrifice to make, especially that you can't pack a goddamn horse on it. And yeah, I mean, just look at it. It's like a big box full of drawers and all this and all the rest of it. You'd think it'd have some kind of repair points. But then the other issue is, I already knew this thing was a little bit sketchy. But as I folded it down now, I can't lower it anymore. It only goes like, you know, sort of flush with the floor. It won't let you go kind of below. So I had to stick a winch onto Bruce, kind of keep reversing until I could sort of wedge it underneath, which I eventually got. So, but yeah, now just kind of having to drop the hammer, reverse into it as hard as I could, and just kind of ram it under there. It managed to scoop one side of the tyres pretty nicely, but it kind of missed the other one. But then you can see the main issue when I start to lift the thing up. It starts to lift Bruce a little bit, but then it starts making me do a wheelie. Especially when I press whatever other button it is that's kind of supposedly supposed to raise it. Yeah, again, you can see Bruce goes up a tiny bit, but then it basically just makes me wheelie even more, which is not very good for the steering. I will just add as well, goddamn horse managed to squeeze his way on there. It'd be quite handy, for example, I know that like this isn't our vehicle or anything, Bruce, but if you could just switch to the vehicle so you could kind of drive it on and line it up a little bit better, it'd help. And then yeah, as you can see, as I set off, it's just I'm wheeling. I can't get my steerable wheels down on the ground. I was kind of hoping if I drive forward as I level out a little bit, it might help the situation. You see, what genuinely would be handy quite right now is if I could put a loaf, pack a loaf on the roof. But that's another thing with this Tatra Force. It wouldn't let me pack a loaf on the front either. I think mainly because the exhaust gets in the way. I could fit him on because I can fit him anywhere. Give me long enough. Yeah, again, that's what she said. But yeah, for whatever reason, it just wouldn't offer me the option to pack. I'm not 100% sure if that's something to do with adding like this recovery unit thing going on. If it just kind of, because it has the option to deploy the anchors and move that flappy thing at the back. I'm not sure if it just kind of, yeah, doesn't get around to offering you the chance to pack and unpack stuff. Because obviously you won't be able to have a trailer either. So yeah, I drove forward. It was just being a pain in the arse. I was trying to steer left the entire time, and for whatever reason, if anything, I was swerving more to the right. So I just called it a day. It was like, it's one of them, I probably could have just winged the mission, but it just would have been messy and too scruffy. So yeah, called it quits, recovered back to the garage. Then that's when I was going through the vehicles, looking at like, the Azov Antarctic, etc. But a lot of the bigger vehicles can't actually have this van repair body, the Zix 605R being one of the few exceptions. And for the most part, I mean, the Zix 605R, I assume, would have done this mission just fine. It's certainly a bigger, heftier vehicle, so weight-wise, it'd kind of have the advantage to where, like, I'd be the dominant vehicle. I'm not going to be getting sort of told where I'm going by the vehicle I'm towing behind me, which is basically what was happening with the Tatra Force. It was just Bruce was heavier, so it was kind of dictating where I'm going to go. Yeah, in the end, the only two reasons really that I didn't use the Zix was, one, I've used it pretty recently. I think I took it for doing that. What was the mission called? was it the gift horse one or something? It was where I had to go and rescue and repair the step pike. And then the other reason was just, as I drove here with the Tatra Force, that's in like the lower set of gearboxes, like the advanced special and all that sort of stuff. And it was a little bit on the slow side. It didn't feel too bad. It didn't feel as bad as like John when I tried driving that the other day. But it was a little bit sketchy. And yeah, I was just kind of like, I'm in an hour, and I thought, sod it. I'm going for the Dolphin. It's one of those vehicles. It's 8-wheeler. It's big enough that I should be able to drive Bruce around without too much hassle. I could actually have the van repair body. I knew I could fit a goddamn horse on the roof. And then mainly I've got the high range gearbox, so I knew I'd kind of be able to drop the hammer a little bit and it not kind of be a painfully slow mission. And yeah, so far it's going pretty well. I mean, I knew when I took that Tatra Force, as I said, the that flappy beaver tail thing at the back, I knew it'd be kind of more hassle than it was worth, but as we rarely get a chance to use it, and I don't know, I was just kind of, as I was scrolling through, trying to pick a different truck I've not used for a little while. But yeah, it was just a bit of a disaster in the end. The other things I was considering using, you know, there's like, they've added it sort of fairly recently. It's kind of like a flatbed at the back, but again, that's got what I think is called a beaver tail, where you can lower that down, drive a vehicle up on it, and pack stuff that way. I was considering taking one of them, because I could have kind of dropped the tail down flat. Well, I would have done it down to the ground and winched Bruce up onto it, but then I could have lifted the beaver tail back up kind of flush and probably been able to pack Bruce. But again, one of the issues is I wasn't able to have that on the Zik 605R or other larger vehicles. Like the twin steer was one I was considering using for this mission. I certainly think power wise and size and all the rest of it would have been fine, but I can't, well, I wouldn't have gone for a trailer anyway, I suppose. But yeah, I would have just, there's no repair options or anything with the twin steer, which is a bit of a shame, because it's certainly got a big enough kind of step deck or flatbed or whatever it is at the back to be able to do that, but it just won't let you. Yeah, I mean, in theory, I could have took another vehicle with a crane and tried loading Bruce onto the back of the twin steer, but the twin steer is a little bit sketchy. I'm so used to driving Fox's twin steer, it's just really nice and planted. It's got weightier wheels, so it doesn't tip over as easily. If I remember correctly, the actual twin steer, just the normal in-game one, is a little bit sketchy for tipping, so I kind of thought that'll end up biting me. And yeah, it took me about half an hour just to pick the Tatra Force, and then I got that bit of the footage done, and then I called that a day. And then it probably took me another hour and a half of going through different vehicles. I nearly took the ANK Civilian. There was a couple of the Vorons I was considering, but again, they're only like smaller six-wheeled stuff. And this Bruce is a bit of a hefty one, and he's got the crane on him as well at the minute, so it probably adds a bit of extra weight. And oh no, I'm in auto at the minute. For the most part, I was able to go in high gear. Every now and then it moaned a little bit, so I tried to drop it back in auto, but overall I'd say it was going pretty well. I have no regrets. And again, I like the fact that on these maps and this phase, you can, for the most part, I mean, within reason, just kind of draw a line going across the map roughly where you want to. They've left enough gaps through various patches of trees so you can still cut through. They've not just gone, you know, like absolutely blanketed it with thick, dense trees to where it's just going to be a pain in the arse trying to weave your way through, especially if you turn a vehicle like this, because, you know, if I catch like Bruce on a tree or something, it's going to be a right pain in the arse trying to reverse my way back out of there. But yeah, I think now, yeah, there's a good example where it's not too happy about me being in high gear. And then now, because the reason I fixed Bruce up before I set off was just because then obviously it's got raised suspension, I assumed I'd be able to turn the engine on. But you can see now I take a hit of damage from something, even though I was barely moving. I'm not sure what it is. It wasn't my truck as well, it was Bruce that took the hit. He's got like a tree stuck to him at the minute. Maybe it was that tree. But what I wasn't sure, and I suppose it was kind of good that that happened, because it was a little chance to see. I knew I was fine repair-wise anyway, because I've still got the goddamn professional, and I've still got 70 odd points, I think, in this van repair body. But what I didn't want to do was, if I pop a tyre on Bruce, and then like, because in the top right of the corner, the mission thing, you've got to deliver Bruce, but you've also got to repair it. It doesn't really specify which way round you've got to do it either. You just, I assume when you arrive there, it's not going to accept the truck unless you've actually already fixed it. But yeah, if I popped a tyre on the way, I'd have to go and do something else. There's a trailer store nearish by, so I could go and grab one of them. And now I was eyeballing these barriers. I wasn't too concerned. I was pretty certain the Dolphin would get over. I was kind of worrying that the Bruce might get caught, but because there's like a nice bank of mud as you come up to the barrier, I just knew like the angle would be pretty good. And yeah, turns out all those review videos where I jump barriers with each truck, it was not in vain. It was actually pretty handy knowing that information just then. And again, normally if I was driving Bruce, I'd have the adjustable suspension on it and everything, so I could lift the nose up a bit more, but this thing was sitting pretty stock. However, yeah, if I didn't fix it up before I set off, the thing would be absolutely on its dick, like blown tyres, smashed suspension, dead engine, no gearbox, all the rest of it. It probably would have been more awkward to tow, pretty much guaranteed. But like I said, it was a bit of a risk, because yeah, if I pop a tyre, I've kind of got to come up with someone else. But at least with the Dolphin in this current setup, I could have gone to the trailer store and got a trailer if I really needed to. Or by now I've got a couple of other loafs scattered nearby. And you can see, yeah, I was running pretty bloody low on fuel at the minute. And at this point, again, got a goddamn horse on me, so I have got spare fuel. But I now wanted to make it out of principle just to see if I could. I knew right near the end it'd do that, you know, where you get like 5 litres left and the engine starts blipping. However, zombie winching came in handy. It's another skill every now and then. That's got that skill. It's probably a little bit rich. You just have to hold the triangle button. But yeah, doing zombie winch though, I was able to get Bruce to push me a bit further. I'm not actually sure. I didn't look in the end, but I was out to fix the fuel tank and everything on Bruce, but he still had fuel in him, because when I turned the engine on, it didn't just automatically say it's stalled because it's run out of fuel. But yeah, I kind of got distracted, but I did the zombie winch. Bruce pushed me into the square, and then it just took the vehicle away. Sadly, it doesn't let you keep the vehicle, but it is what it is. I've got like 88 million, so I'll be alright. But yeah, that's another one in the bag. That's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf, because he's a goddamn professional, and I'll be back soon.